I looked at what committed income do I have for the upcoming year already. I don't think a lot of business owners do is do long-term financial forecasting, and not just forecasting in the sense of what revenue they think they're going to make, but starting off with what is your current financial commitments that you already have planned or will be coming in based off of existing contracts. I primarily work with clients in a private one-on-one capacity. In October, as well as in November and in December, I had a lot of my private one-on-one clients coming up for client renewals. That gave me a really good idea of what my existing client payments were going to look like for next year. As of right now, every one-on-one client that I have, which I'm just so grateful for, everybody has renewed. I have one more client that's coming up for renewal in a couple of weeks. So we'll determine whether or not she'll be renewing and staying with me after maternity leave. But my other clients all have renewed. So that was helpful to kind of get a gauge on, okay, what current client commitments do I have? The second thing I looked at was securing any additional revenue. Again, I did this process in October. So I gave myself October to December to secure any additional potential cash flow for the new year. I signed a really large multi-5-figure brand partnership. And with those brand partnerships, those are contracts that are going to be happening in 2026. So that's secured revenue. And the third form of revenue that I had secured for 2026 was maternity leave. I am an LLC that files as an S Corp. I also live in California. So I'm an employee to my company. And because of that, I now qualify for maternity leave benefits. I've been working with maternity leave consultant to get a very clear picture on how much maternity leave and what those monthly payments will look like. Those are the three forms of cash security I already had going into 2026. So I had multi-six figures of revenue already secured from client renewals, brand partnerships, and maternity leave payments. And that was such a relief. It's something that's so important to do, whether you're going on maternity leave or not, is thinking about your business in this way, doing financial forecasting, not just what your projections are in regards to hypothetical scenarios of what you want to make, but more so of like, what do you have secured, and starting your new year planning process from a financial perspective at the beginning of Q4 so that you can be really strategic. We can be way more reactive than we need to be versus how can we be being proactive with how we set ourselves up financially before the new year even starts. All of that was part of my planning process, in particular because I was going on maternity leave. So that was first and foremost. Really important to note as a business owner is what are different ways that you can be creating stability in your business. And what I mentioned that as of right now, all of my existing clients are renewing with me for the new year. Not only are they going into the new year with me, but they're going to be waiting for my return upon when I come back from maternity leave. This just really goes to show the importance of lifetime value of a customer. It needs to be something you are strategically thinking about because regardless of what business entity or type that you have, one of the best ways that you can increase your profit, create more stability in your cash flow is by honing in on client delivery and being a really good steward of the individuals who say yes to you, who hire you in the first place, delivering a really great client experience, and starting to track what is your average lifetime value per customer. What is your client retention rate? What percentage of your existing clients want to work with you over and over again? For me, it's 6 months of private one-on-one coaching. They renew for another 6 months. Or maybe they are buying one product and then they're upgrading and choosing to hire you again for another offer that you have. But me tracking client retention and what percentage of my clients renew and stay with me, with private one-on-one coaching, about 90% of my clients will renew with me more than once. So me knowing that data and also me designing my business for a high client retention and high client renewal creates so much ease and so much steadiness and so much stability. Because now going into maternity leave, it's like I'm pretty much sold out. Depending on what this client does in January that I have coming up for renewal, I will have one, maybe two client spots that will be available when I get back from maternity leave. And it's like the idea of me needing to market and find two clients I already have a really healthy wait list of clients. There's over 400 people on my private one-on-one list. I typically work with 6 to 8 private one-on-one clients at a time. It's like it creates so much comfort knowing that I had that security built in, and that security came from really fostering a beautiful client relationship, prioritizing that client relationship, delivering on that client relationship in that client offer. And I just think it's a huge mindset shift that has supported me. If you just increase your client renewals by 20%, what would that do to your bottom line cash flow? How much additional profit would that bring into the business? If you could increase your client lifetime value and double it in the next year, what would that do for your cash flow? And that's not even you going out and hunting down and getting new clients. It's just how do you keep your current clients longer? So that was a really big thing. So I'm going into the new year feeling very just like financially secure because of how much cash is already in contract and projected to be made just off of current client commitments and brand partnerships. Now, the next thing that I do after I've done the calendaring and after I've done my cash flow projections is really think about what are my actual business financial goals. As somebody who's been in business for 9 years, I do want to give the context here because how I set my financial goals now looks a little bit differently because I'm not in a hyper growth season. I'm not in a business scaling season. Like my personal life is what is scaling right now. Birthing my first child, really setting up a foundation for my family and my home, navigating motherhood for the first time. My life is the thing that is personally scaling. And my business is more so in a state of not maintenance per se, but just like healthy take home pay. I'm not trying to 3x my business revenue this year. I'm not trying to quadruple my take home pay this year. Maintaining a take home pay is really important to me, a healthy take home pay. For me, that typically looks like taking home between $200,000 and $250,000. That's like the ballpark that I aim for. If more happens, more happens, but that is like the goal I'm setting. And then that $200,000 and $250,000 take home pay, that dictates what size business I actually need. And I think that I've done episodes on that on the podcast about understanding what size business you need for your take home pay. So if you want that episode, I'll make sure to leave it in the show notes for you. But that again goes back to this lifestyle first approach and capacity led approach to how I'm doing business goal planning. So that was something that was really important to define again, and for me to give you contextual understanding around. It'd be different if I was trying to double my take home pay and take home $500,000 this year. That would impact a lot of what I'm doing operationally in the business, how I'm structuring offers, how many launches, and just how I'm thinking about marketing. But it was really important for me to name that this is a personal life scaling year and this is a steadiness of business cash flow year. So that was another really important thing for me to name. Then when it comes to the business, now that I'm clear on what I want my take home pay to be, I then reverse engineer that. I now reverse engineer that to determine what size business I actually need to produce that type of take home pay. So when I say reverse engineer that, if I know I want my take home pay to be this, and I look at, okay, what are my current cash that I already have committed? What is the gap between the cash I already have committed and what else I need? That lets me know what size business, like top line revenue I need